I thought I was being a good friend by supporting Anna, but she used my credit card for her son's birthday without asking. Now our friendship is on the line. So here's the thing, me, 28F, and Anna, 28F, have been best friends since forever. Like, we grew up together, went through school, first breakups, everything. Naturally, when she had her baby, I was thrilled for her. I even helped plan the baby shower and got super involved in her life as a new mom. But recently, things have gotten weird. Anna's son turned one last weekend and she wanted to throw a huge party. I'm talking over the top. Rented venue, professional catering, decorations, the whole shebang. Now, I thought we were just going to have a nice little family and friends thing. But nope, Anna had a vision. Fine, no biggie. I figured she could do whatever made her happy for her son's big day. Fast forward to a week before the party. Anna starts hinting that she's a little stressed about costs and how tight things are right now. I get it. Having a baby is expensive, but she kept bringing it up in every conversation. I offered to help with decorations or pick up some snacks, but she waved it off, saying she had everything under control. The day of the party comes, and it's chaos, balloons everywhere, a bouncy house, tons of people I didn't even know. I show up early to help set up, and Anna's running around like a headless chicken. Then, as we're putting out the decorations, she casually says, "Oh, by the way, I put the catering on your card." I hadn't even seen a catering bill, let alone agreed to pay for one. Uh, what do you mean you put it on my card? I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked at me like I was being dramatic and goes, "Yeah, you know I've been struggling. I figured you wouldn't mind covering it, and I'll pay you back later." Excuse me? First of all, I never once said she could use my card. And second, I had no clue how much this catering even cost. When I asked, she shrugged and said, "Only about $500. It's not a big deal." 500. For food I didn't even order or agree to pay for. I told her no way. I wasn't paying for something she never asked permission for. And frankly, I didn't have that kind of money just lying around. She acted all shocked and hurt, saying I was being selfish and how it was her son's first birthday. As if I'm supposed to go into debt for a party I didn't even throw. We had a massive argument in front of some of her other friends, and I ended up leaving early. Later that night, she blew up my phone with texts saying I ruined her son's day, that I was being a terrible friend, and how I didn't understand how hard things are for her right now. I just couldn't believe the audacity. After everything, I blocked her. I couldn't deal with the guilt tripping, especially over something so ridiculous. Now, some mutual friends have reached out, saying I was too harsh and that I should have just helped her out because she's struggling. But I feel like she crossed a line. You don't just throw someone's money into your plans without asking them, right? So, AETA for blocking her? Or did I overreact? Update 1. A few weeks passed since the party, and I had given Anna some space. Blocking her felt like the right move, but guilt lingered in my heart. I never imagined things would blow up like that, and I had been thinking a lot about our friendship. We had shared so many memories over the years, growing up together and navigating through life's challenges, and it felt heartbreaking to have it all unravel over a birthday party. I thought about the support I had given her during her transition into motherhood, and I wondered if I had somehow enabled her behavior by always being the accommodating friend. One night, while hanging out with some mutual friends, Sarah brought up Anna. She mentioned that Anna was feeling really isolated and struggling with her role as a mom. Hearing that made my heart sink, because I never wanted to be the bad friend. I began to question if I had overreacted. Perhaps I could have handled the situation differently. As I replayed the events in my mind, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I decided I should reach out to Anna. Maybe it was time to clear the air and try to understand where she was coming from. I sent her a message asking if we could meet up. To my surprise, she responded quickly, saying she would love to talk. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop, and as the day approached, my feelings were a whirlwind of anxiety and hope. Part of me wanted to mend our friendship, while another part was afraid of being hurt again. I knew that confronting the issue meant possibly facing more conflict, but I had to be honest with myself and with her. When I arrived at the coffee shop, I spotted Anna sitting at a corner table. She looked nervous, her fingers fidgeting with the sleeve of her sweater. I felt a pang of sympathy as I approached her, remembering how close we used to be. We exchanged some awkward pleasantries before diving into the main issue, the elephant in the room looming over us. "I've missed you," I began, trying to break the ice. "But I need to know why you thought it was okay to use my card without asking." Anna took a deep breath, clearly struggling to find the right words. "I didn't know how else to manage everything," she said, her voice quavering. "I was so stressed about the party and wanting everything to be perfect. I thought you would understand." I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. "But you didn't even ask," I pointed out. "You just assumed it was okay to charge all that to my card. It's not just about the money, Anna, it's about trust." She looked down, tears welling in her eyes. "I know, and I'm really sorry," she admitted. "I thought I could handle it. I just wanted everyone to see me as a good mom, and I panicked. I felt like I was failing." Her vulnerability caught me off guard. I hadn't realized how much pressure she was under, but it didn't excuse her behavior. "I understand that being a new mom can be overwhelming, but that doesn't give you the right to put me in that position," I said gently. "I would have helped you if you just asked. You know I'm here for you." We spent the next hour talking about our feelings, and it was cathartic, but I still felt a knot in my stomach. Just when I thought we were making progress, Anna dropped another bombshell. "I didn't just use your card for the catering," she said, hesitating. "I also charged the bouncy house and decorations." My stomach dropped as the realization hit me. "How much are we talking about?" I asked, my heart racing. She fidgeted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. "I'm not sure, maybe another $500 or so." I felt lightheaded. I never expected to find myself in this situation, and the burden of financial responsibility was becoming overwhelming. I tried to keep my composure, but my voice shook as I responded. "That's not something you can just throw on someone without their consent. I'm sorry, Anna, but I can't continue to let this go unchecked." She nodded, her tears falling freely now. "I don't want to lose you as a friend," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll pay you back, I promise." "Payment isn't the issue," I replied, feeling frustrated yet empathetic. "It's about boundaries. You need to communicate better with me moving forward." After our talk, we agreed to revisit the issue in a few weeks, giving each other time to process everything. I felt a flicker of hope, but the trust between us had been shaken. A few days later, I received a text from Anna asking if we could meet again. I felt apprehensive but also hopeful. Perhaps she was ready to take responsibility for her actions. Update 2. When we met up again, Anna looked even more anxious than before. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last conversation," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I talked to my partner about everything, and we realized how out of control we've let things get. We are going to pay you back. I'm just embarrassed about how everything turned out." I could feel my heart soften at her admission, but I remained guarded. "That's a step in the right direction," I replied. "But I need to know how you plan to handle this moving forward because this can't happen again." She nodded, looking relieved to have the chance to explain. "I'm willing to make it right. I know I crossed a line. I just felt so much pressure, and I didn't want anyone to think I was failing as a mom." The honesty in her voice made me want to reach out and hug her, but I knew I needed to stay firm. "We need to set some financial boundaries for future events," I said, my tone serious. "I don't want to be put in a situation like this again. You have to communicate with me, and we need to talk about costs before making decisions." Anna agreed, her eyes filling with tears again. "I really appreciate that, and I promise I'll do better. I just feel so lost." But as we continued our conversation, she hesitated again, her expression shifting from relief to anxiety. "There's something else I haven't told you," she said, her voice trembling. "The reason I was so frantic about the party was because my partner lost his job a month ago. I've been trying to hold everything together on my own, and I thought if I made the party huge, it would distract everyone from what was really going on. My heart sank as I processed her words. I hadn't realized she was facing financial difficulties on top of everything else. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, genuinely confused. I would have helped you if I had known. I didn't want you to see me as weak, she admitted, her eyes downcast. I thought I could manage everything myself, but I messed up. I took a moment to process this new information, feeling torn between empathy and frustration. On one hand, I wanted to help her, but on the other hand, her actions were still inexcusable. I understand that you're going through a tough time, I finally said, trying to strike a balance. But you can't just assume I will cover your costs without talking to me first. That's not fair. I know, and I promise I'll do better, she said, wiping her tears. I just didn't think it would escalate like this. Our conversation continued for another hour, and we talked about how to create a more honest and supportive friendship moving forward. I felt like we were finally on the same page, but the scars of our recent conflict still lingered in the back of my mind. After our meeting, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of hope and uncertainty. I realized that friendships could be complicated, especially when money and expectations were involved. I didn't want to lose Anna, but I also didn't want to become a victim of her circumstances. I discussed our meeting with Sarah later that week, wanting to gather her perspective. It sounds like she's going through a lot, but you also have to protect yourself, Sarah advised. You need to establish some boundaries and make it clear that this can't happen again. I took her advice to heart, feeling more confident about setting boundaries moving forward. I decided to draft a text to Anna outlining our agreement on payment and future costs, wanting to ensure that there would be no misunderstandings in the future. A few days later, I sent the message. Hey, Anna, I really appreciate our talk last week. I think it's important we agree on how payments will work moving forward. Let's set a limit on what we can afford to spend on events together and always discuss plans before making any decisions. To my relief, she responded positively, saying she was on board with setting boundaries. But as I sat back, I felt a lingering sense of dread. I had hoped we could rebuild our friendship, but I also knew that it would take time and effort from both sides. Update 3. Weeks passed, and I hadn't heard from Anna. I assumed she was busy working on paying me back and handling her responsibilities as a new mom. I felt a mix of relief and anxiety about the situation. On one hand, I wanted to give her space to work things out, but on the other hand, I worried that she might feel abandoned. Finally, I decided to reach out to her again, wanting to check in and see how things were going. I sent a simple message asking if she wanted to meet up for coffee, hoping to reconnect after our previous discussions. To my surprise, she responded almost immediately, saying she would love to catch up and was looking forward to it. We agreed to meet at our favorite cafe the following week. When the day arrived, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. I arrived early, my mind racing with thoughts about what we would discuss. Would she bring up the money again? Would she apologize for her previous behavior? I knew we had laid down some ground rules, but I also felt a nagging worry about whether things could ever go back to normal. When Anna walked in, she looked more put together than I had seen her in weeks. She wore a smile, and for a moment I felt a glimmer of hope. We exchanged pleasantries and caught up on each other's lives, but I could sense that something was off beneath the surface. Everything going okay? I asked, wanting to address the elephant in the room. Yeah, mostly, she replied, but her eyes darted away, betraying her nervousness. I wanted to talk about something, actually. You know, after everything that happened, I've had a lot of time to think. Of course, I'm here for you, I assured her, wanting to create a safe space for our conversation. She took a deep breath, visibly gathering her thoughts. I've been reflecting on our friendship, and I realize I took you for granted. I let my stress and anxiety cloud my judgment, and I don't want to be that friend anymore. I appreciated her honesty and felt the tension in my shoulders easing. Thank you for saying that, Anna. It means a lot. I also needed to set boundaries for my own well-being. I don't want to be put in the same situation again. Anna nodded, her expression turning serious. I get that. And I promise I'll be more responsible moving forward. But I also wanted to tell you that things have changed for me lately, and I don't know how to navigate them. I furrowed my brow, intrigued yet concerned. What do you mean? She hesitated, as if weighing her words carefully. Well, remember I told you about my partner losing his job? He found a new position, but it's not enough to cover our bills. We've had to dip into savings, and things have become really tight. I've started to feel overwhelmed, and I don't know how to handle it. The pressure is mounting. Her vulnerability was heartbreaking to witness. I'm so sorry to hear that, I said gently, wanting to comfort her while also staying firm. But you need to communicate these struggles to me instead of making reckless decisions. I know, she said, wiping away a tear. I'm really trying, but it's hard for me to ask for help. I always felt like I had to be strong, and now I'm struggling with that expectation. The conversation took an unexpected turn, and I found myself empathizing with her predicament. It's okay to feel vulnerable, I assured her. You don't have to put up a front with me. I'm here to support you, but we need to find a balance in our friendship. After a long pause, she looked down at her coffee cup. There's something else I need to say, she said hesitantly. I've been thinking a lot about how my actions impacted you, and I don't want to keep making excuses for what I did. I regret using your card, and I want to make things right. I also want to apologize for putting you in that position, especially in front of others. Hearing her genuine remorse lifted some weight off my heart. Thank you for acknowledging that, I replied. It means a lot to me. I also want to apologize for blocking you. I let my anger take over, and it felt like the only way to protect myself. As we continued to talk, we found ourselves slowly reconnecting. We shared our fears and hopes for the future, and I could feel the walls between us beginning to come down. I realized that while our friendship had been tested, it could also grow stronger if we continued to communicate openly. But as the conversation deepened, Anna's demeanor shifted again. She looked worried, her eyes darting around the cafe as if she was trying to gauge the reactions of those around us. There's one more thing I've been meaning to tell you, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Go ahead, I'm listening, I encouraged her, my heart racing at the seriousness in her tone. I was talking to my partner about everything, and we realized that I haven't just been struggling with being a mom or managing finances, she said, her voice trembling. I think I'm also dealing with postpartum depression. I've been feeling so lost and overwhelmed, and I didn't want to admit it. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I had sensed her anxiety and stress, but hadn't fully grasped the extent of her struggles. Anna, I'm so sorry you've been feeling this way, I said gently. You don't have to face this alone. There's no shame in seeking help, and I can support you in finding resources. I know, she replied, tears streaming down her face. I've been too proud to ask for help. I've been trying to hold it all together, and I thought if I could just make everything perfect, it would help. But it hasn't worked. I need to prioritize my mental health, but I didn't know how to approach it. Let's work on this together, I said, my heart aching for her. We can figure out a plan to get you the help you need. I'm here for you, and I want to support you through this. As we sat in the cafe, our conversation shifted from past grievances to the future and how we could rebuild our friendship. I felt a renewed sense of hope, understanding that our bond could survive challenges as long as we communicated honestly and openly. After our talk, Anna expressed her gratitude, and I could see the weight slowly lifting from her shoulders. I knew there would be more challenges ahead, but we were ready to face them together. The friendship we had built over years wasn't just a thing of the past. It was evolving into something deeper and more meaningful. As we left the cafe, I felt hopeful for the first time in a long while. The road to healing would be long, but I was willing to walk it with Anna, supporting her as she navigated the complexities of motherhood and mental health. In the end, our friendship was about more than just shared experiences. It was about lifting each other up during our darkest moments and reminding one another that we are never truly alone.